All right, well,
Oh, mine's gonna go.
They're good?
It's 6 and it's not.
okay, this meeting of the town board will come to order. Jennifer, can you do the roll call, please?
Sure, thank you. Kate Gladden here. Carl Walzer.
Here.
Arlen Kai.
Here.
Steve Jernigan.
Here.
And then, well, Lori Fitzgerald here to me. When
Next step.
I'm just gonna move the camera a little bit, so. Try to. So that we can see all the board. Okay, there you go.
And the next item is swearing in.
And raise your right hand. Okay. I, Lori Fitzgerald, have been appointed to the office of Town Board Supervisor, but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof. Swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin, and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office to the best of my ability. I swear.
Okay, next item then is a presentation by Paul Whitmer. And or not.
We kind of doing that just to help with the voice.
Yeah.
And we've got the air conditioning, so if you can stand, which, thank you, that helps.
Hi, I'm Paul Zwicker, Executive Director of OCA Media. Tom Kirchdorfer is our board president. He's been our numbers guy, so I'm gonna let Tom roll for a little bit, and if you have any questions, please ask.
We won't take a lot of your time. I see you have a long agenda. In your packet, I understand that you have our request for funding. The town of Oregon has provided funding to OCA. I've been involved probably since about 2014 to 2015, as long as I've known it, it's always been the same amount every year from the town of Oregon. We are asking for increase this year. You might want to take a look at that and consider it in relationship to what your budget's. I don't know how much each of you knows about OCA Media. We used to be called a lot of other things. We called WOW, we called a lot of things. Basically the cable access channel for the Oregon area. We have a schools channel, we have a public information channel. We broadcast 24/7. A lot of that is repeated information that we repeat our program multiple times in a given cycle. We've won numerous awards. We have a great professional staff. I could spend a long time talking about the quality and the work that Paul has brought to OCA Media. We are an independent organization. We're a 501c3b nonprofit organization. We have an all volunteer board of directors, which I'm the president of. We're very proud of the work that we do and what we accomplished. We think we bring great value to the people and the communities that we serve. We see our audience pretty much. I think of the geographic area of really the Oregon School District. So we cover anything in that, anything that we think that could be of public interest. One of the things we want you to consider or talk about is maybe doing more broadcasting of your meetings and your information. I know the Village of Oregon finds that very helpful and very kind of helps in their communications of their meetings and what's going on. It keeps their very informed community. We're probably the biggest part of our programming is comes from the school district. If you want to see an Oregon girls soccer game, tune in to any of our channels. We broadcast on Spectrum and on TBS, and probably most for the town of Oregon, it's pretty much just the Spectrum channel at 983 and 984. So you've got to kind of go off the other side. The other end that's really growing for OCA Media is we have a YouTube channel. We've got about 600 subscribers, 2,700 subscribers, that when we post a video there, they're notified that video is there, and they usually get the name of the video. So when we put up I think we did your annual meeting, when we posted that to YouTube, all the 2,700 of those subscribers were told that that's the Oregon Town Meeting annual meeting is now available. And they can stream that anytime, 24/7. And I know the numbers don't, in those, in YouTube don't sound a lot, but I know that on the annual meetings, when I checked the other day, you had 50 people who actually dialed in and watched that video. I know that it doesn't sound big when you think about YouTube numbers, but think about 50 people in this room who are interested in what you have to do and what you're doing. We think we're providing great service and great information to your community. Again, we appreciate you thinking about what your contribution is. For OCA Media, the majority of our funding does come from the Village of Oregon. And they provide like about 80% of our total $150,000 budget. But again, we're hoping for an increase here. We've had a pretty significant increase in our staffing costs. Probably the biggest portion of our cost is staffing. A few years ago, we were hiring staff at $10 an hour. And now you can't even get a high school student to stop at your desk unless you talk to $15. Oh, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
What we do for your residents is provide, if they have somebody in the school district, maybe doing performing arts at the PAC in the high school, or even at the middle school. We're covering providing them that access. They can watch that replay anytime. They can tune into the cable channel and watch that whenever it's scheduled. We do post it in on our Facebook page and our website, as well as in the newspaper, Oregon Observer. We've gained about 60 subscribers every month in the last year or so on our YouTube channel, which is a pretty significant increase. More and more people are finding out about us and starting to rely on us to provide video content of the events that go on. We get calls from school principals. Are you going to live stream our middle school graduation? Of which we do when we're able to staff it. We do a lot for the community that maybe goes unrecognized, and a lot of that has to do with our social media posts, events that are happening. You may know Frank Caruso, who's he is our producer of one of our shows. Basically, Oregon Life is a focused piece on an individual in the community who's making a difference. And that's a weekly show that he puts out, and it's a 3 to 10 minute piece, and it's quite popular. But he's also a social media guy he's on top of everything. So if you haven't seen him around town, you probably haven't been to an event that or in town. We try to do everything we can for our community to have people put their phones down and quit recording their kids at their performing arts event. To be there for the football players, for the basketball player who scored the winning shot in a playoff game last year that went viral. ESPN picked it up and got 3 million hits on that. It was kind of a surprise for us, but we try to do everything we can in our community within our means. And we have four part-time staffers that do all this for 24/7. I'm surprised we're able to put out what we do, but our content is quite significantly above the level of a lot of other places. You see a high school game from Sun Prairie, it may not be as quite well. Sun Prairie's got some well-paid people, but other municipalities don't even record or broadcast their games. I don't think we do a good service for the community. It's costing us more to do that. And we're looking to see if we couldn't get some more money from the town here to help us offset these costs. So any questions we're on that.
Tell me again the channels that if you don't have Spectrum, then you find it on YouTube.
Yes.
We have our own YouTube channel. It's
Okay.
OCA Media
Okay.
on YouTube.
Yeah.
If you go to our web page, it will direct you to live events, to our program guide, what's coming up. If you just went to our website, our YouTube page, you'd see the most recent live events we've done. We generally do about 300 events in town in a given year in this area. A good majority of those are sports, because they're the most popular. And I am able to go out to local businesses and say, would you like to sponsor our sports? We will do an in-kind mention of your business, very much like a PBS style. Thank you to our sponsors. One Community Bank's been there for a long time with us, and I think they sponsored basketball these past,
They have,
soccer.
they have the scoreboard for soccer.
It was, Tor Horse had basketball, he got a bang for his buck for, because we had so many basketball games. And those get mentioned every time our announcers like, there's another score on the One Community Bank scoreboard. Anyway, that's a long answer.
So I don't have a question. I just want to say that I think the YouTube channel is really helpful. And the recordings are really nicely done too.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Do you have any way of telling how many of the town of Oregon residents are tapping into your resource?
We have no numbers off of cable. They do not provide that like Nielsen ratings used to do on over the air on, back in the day. We can't tell how many residents are. We do know when we're off the air because I'll get a call on a Sunday morning that the church service is not provided. And that's an important thing for people who are living shut-ins and unable to get out for COVID. So the answer is no, I can't.
Yeah, we don't really have. Our breakdown, I think, within YouTube is it by the zip code. And so we can break, I don't know if you can pull out zip code numbers from, if the user has put in that information. We might be able to break it out, but it's usually pretty hard to parse out individual addresses. And so just for confidentiality kind of aspect.
I can add that we get franchise fees. So we get franchise fees from Spectrum or Charter, and we get franchise fees from TDS. And that's based on a percentage of who in the township is getting Spectrum service or getting TDS service. So then they would have access to the,
They would have the broadcast.
right, they'd have the broadcast. I mean, everyone has access to the YouTube channel. So we do have numbers that people do have Spectrum and TDS. in the town.
On Spectrum, it's 983 and 984. On TDS, it's depending on which version of TDS you have. It's 1020.
1019 and
1019 and 1020, and then it's on the TDS plus, it's 34 and 35. Just because we wanted to make it more confusing.
No, TDS did that to us.
Yeah, I know.
So you're coming through the two cable channel, the Spectrum and the TDS,
Exactly. the same.
and also access on YouTube.
Yes.
All the stuff on YouTube is streamed it's not broadcast, it's streamed. You can go there live or you can see it live because we just stream live on some content. But then you can go at any time and watch it. Whereas you have to wait for it to be broadcast when you're on a cable.
We do upload quite a lot to YouTube. That also goes out on cable. There are some select things we just don't put up on YouTube. But not often. It's mostly any long format, any event coverage, we would probably be on YouTube. Whether it's a tractor pull down in Brooklyn or an event at Anderson Park, that we've done a piece on. It's probably out there. So if you're interested in anything that happened at Anderson Park, we've probably got something on it. Or, that's what we do for the community. I'm hoping that you can help us in the sense that our costs are going up and subscribers are slowly declining a little bit, and we're not sure where our funding is going to be coming from. I'm able to raise about $10,000 to $15,000 a year from local businesses. Those are harder to come by sometimes. Everybody's got their hand out in town, and it's hard to ask as a nonprofit, how, can you help us?
Before you leave the podium, let me just finish up here. Steve, any questions, comments?
No, I don't. think so.
Lori? Jennifer?
Do you still do like a mentorship program for like high school students and things like that?
I have, I'm trying to get internships. I have had interns in the past. We train and hire high school students to do all of the basketball games, the performing arts, when I can get them in the door.
Yeah.
It's difficult to staff with high school students, but I'm kind of trying to get it back. We had 5 on staff last year. One of our current part-timers worked with us for 4 years at the high school. and now going into broadcast. We've graduated a couple who've gone into broadcast production, so yes, thank you.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I want to thank you too, that before we had the Zoom, how helpful you've been to us, especially one meeting where we needed someone here. You didn't have anybody, so one of your people took over for the concert on the square and someone else came here, so it was wonderful. Thank you for helping us out.
Anytime, that's what we're here for.
Now, I should say that our budget for 2023 is set, but we always consider OCA during budget time, and we'll obviously do that again.
Okay, appreciate it. Any consideration is appreciated.
Thank you. Excellent.
Thank you, Ronnie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item is approval of the minutes, and we have 3 sets. We've got the board of review from May 9th, that was prior to the board meeting on May 9th, and then the special meeting on the 31st of May. Does anyone have any corrections to those minutes? Hearing none. Then without objection, the 3 sets of minutes are approved. Agenda item number 6 is the financial report and payment voucher approval. Jennifer?
So that starts on page 17. You'll have Stephanie's balances in the accounts. Page 18. Then the payment vouchers are page 19 and 20, and then just a recap on page 21. I would say, as you can see, 2 of the larger payments we're making are to the green country stone, which is the gravel that the guys had to lay on Alpine. So as you might know, that road did not have a great base, so they had to do quite a bit of work. But what I was informed of today is that someone took a Bobcat out onto Alpine Road and took away about a truckload of gravel.
You got it. What?
Yes. So nobody knows where the gravel went
Or who took it?
or who took it.
Can you reach out to residents? Sorry.
So, yeah, I just learned about this today.
Awesome.
So we might want to investigate who was out there.
Most people will have smart doorbells and cameras now that you might be able to get a peek off of if you could get a view off of Alpine.
But I said I just paid a $25,000 bill, so using any gravel. So apparently someone was upset and so they had gravel down on the road. And I've never heard of that happening before. I don't know, you guys have all been here many years. It's the first time in my time I've heard somebody going out there and scooping out on gravel that we've laid down on the road.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Somebody had.
I don't know what they do with gravel.
Trust me.
I could use it.
I'm not sure who's old enough to do that, but
Fingers. Just being very transparent, I know you need a lot of gravel.
so. And then I will add to that, they should be paving today and tomorrow, probably on time, I think. Yeah. So that's anecdotal, so that's why.
So we got gravel replaced.
I think they had gravel to replace it with, but regardless, somebody took a gravel off Alpine.
Anything else?
It's just $25,000 worth of gravel. That's not how much they took, but still. They took some of it. And then the other large one is, we have our big rural mutual insurance for $21,000. That's another big, that's covers all of our equipment and our workman's comp and things like that. Oh, any questions?
Could take a motion to approve. Anyone's interested?
I move to approve.
Here a second?
I'll second.
We'll request Jennifer to take it off your driveway and put it back.
My driveway's concrete.
Any other questions or discussion on approving financial report and payment vouchers? Then all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion passes. Public comments, there was no one who signed up. I just want to make sure before we move on from that, that nobody else wanted to speak for a couple minutes. Nope, okay. Number 8, park report.
Yes,
Steve?
as you all probably well know, we hired an individual for park mowing. And that was Caden Zerfith. And I have to admit that after he did the town park, I've never seen so clean around the posts from weed whacking. Tribute to him. I just want to let you know about that. Waiting for the town parking lot to get seal coated, crack sealed, etc. The trees at Kenny Park came down yesterday and today, so that is completed. They are taking off a couple $100 from their estimate because it went better than they had anticipated. So the bill coming in will be less than what they quoted. Eagle Scout project was completed. For those who get the Oregon Observer, there was a nice article in the Oregon Observer about the Eagle project. And I met him out at the sites and signed off on his project. We're in the process of filling a vacancy left by Kate. And I appreciate your time that you spent on the park committee. And I thank you for that. And we have moved our park meeting dates to the 4th Monday of each month, starting in July. So that's when our meetings will occur. And again, I know the town crew isn't here, but you're in charge of the town crew. I always want to thank the town crew for what they do for the park system. Thank you. That's it.
Thanks for moving your meeting.
You bet.
That just helps a lot with prepping for this meeting.
Understand.
Yeah, and for approving things, obviously.
Sure.
And anything else to add from
Nope.
the meeting last time? Okay, sounds great. Thanks, Steve. Thanks,
You
Steve.
Yeah,
All right,
great.
the next item is discussion possible approval related to curbside exemption requests and exemption request. Exemption requests in general and also the specific exemption request for the Lincoln Road addresses.
I have, sorry, Dan, in this time, in my agenda, I have the O'Brien exemption request first. It's totally fine.
You want it?
We're just probably gonna handle those if that's okay.
We're just gonna go in order, yeah,
Yeah,
in order of the packets. It's Dan O'Brien.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mark O'Brien and.
It's,
and that's it.
yeah, Mark's here, so he can speak for himself, but it's a family farm for, so. there's
And
two-
The
there's two
invoice,
homesteads,
yeah, the invoice is on page 26 that supports those 2 exemptions. Any questions about those comments? And then we're looking for a motion.
Be reference to
The O'Brien page starts on page 23, goes to 26.
So we would be exempting 552 Glenway and 408.
Any questions about it?
These are all in compliance with the exemption for agricultural operations.
Right. Yeah, it's really just the 3 categories, either
So
commercial,
I move
agriculture.
to approve.
Any second?
I'll second it.
Kate seconds. Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion passes. And the next request, set of requests is related to the Lincoln Road properties.
I need to recuse myself.
Dan, did you want to start off?
Yeah, that's, yeah, get on that, so, yeah, so, my name is Dan Cassis, I live at 5707 Lincoln Road, which is one of the homes, part of the Carindale community, I was here at the May meeting, when Dale kind of gave the presentation, so I'm kind of speaking on behalf of our community, we have the 9 homes plus the Carindale farm that is requesting exemption. The reason for this request, as we kind of stated at the last meeting, and there's some information in your packet, is it's clearly a safety, a reason. So without the way our homes are situated, we are off Lincoln Road, or right, our mailbox sits right almost at the intersection of Fish Hatch and Lincoln Road. And where they want to put the cans is on Fish Hatch Road in between the mailbox and the intersection. And it's just not a safe location. There's potential for, cans blowing over, but also it's just with that intersection there's only one stop sign. And I know we had Able out on site as well. And when you have a truck, like the size of that, the size of the garbage truck's gonna be stopped there, it's a potential risk for cars and other traffic as well. So that's really the number one reason why we wanted to opt out. We already talked to Pelletier, we secured a contract, we have a proposal to put a dumpster on site. And this would be located on the west side of our private driveway. And it would be landscape screened, it would look good. Again, this is, we're gonna be paying more for this. But we feel, and we would take that liability on because then they would just be coming down our road, to get to the dumpster versus having potential liability for the township if something happened out on Lincoln Road. So we already have that secured. And I know at the last meeting, there was concern about precedent, right? So I know there's, a lot of people along driveways. That's not our concern. Our concern is safety. I mean, we're not talking about the length of the driveway. That really has no merit at all. This is a safety issue. So plus, I looked at some other townships. I haven't found anywhere where there's that many homes that are set that far back. You might find 3 or 4 homes, but that's the other thing is that with 9 homes in a business, you're gonna have 20 cans out there. And it's just, I don't even know if we can make it work with I think it's either 2 or 4 foot in between the Pelletier requests. So it's really that's what it is. It's just really the space and safety issue. So that's why we're requesting this opt out. One other option that we discussed, I discussed with the Pelletier, is that we would entertain an option where we would, if we were not allowed to opt out, we would pay Pelletier, it would be the difference of the monthly contract that they proposed to us for the dumpster, less the monthly fee that the town has contracted. That way we wouldn't be paying double. So that's something else we would entertain if the bookkeeping worked out. So we just don't feel like we should have to pay twice for this, because it's a safety issue. We're trying to come up with a better solution. We don't want to see something bad happen out there.
Let me chime in just about a couple things, and for everybody else, if you've got things to add, feel free. The idea of discounting the dumpster fee.
Yep.
Was brought up months ago. I'm not sure how long ago it was, and Pelletier has got some accounting issue with the different divisions of their business. And we brought it up again this past week, and as recently as today, I think, heard the same answer.
Yeah, I talked to her too. So you got the same, they can't make
For
it
whatever
work.
reason, the commercial versus residential, whatever reason, they can't handle that accounting. So I think that would be a great idea, but it won't work. Now, what they have said though, is that they would pick up carts along your road, along your driveway. And so it would be off of Lincoln, right? So their truck would pull in or back in or whatever and pick up carts along there. The public works guys here too have offered to put down gravel where needed or to create a berm or a flat area where the carts would fit. And I'm sitting here right now, I don't know what the spacing is, but if you're going along your driveway.
And that would be on Lincoln Road, that able to do that.
I think the idea was along the driveway, wasn't it?
They're willing to put in gravel, the road crew will put in gravel, along Lincoln. they would put gravel in the location Carl's talking about, but they're willing, you know, we are willing to help if there's an issue with gravel or where cans need to be. They're willing to help.
And the unfortunate thing is by the ordinance and by the exemption restrictions, really, there's just three categories and your group doesn't qualify for any of those. So we're boxed in a little bit on what we can do. So the town is trying to create the area to be acceptable for pickup of the collection of the carts. Pelletieri is trying to work with you on either carts or dumpster or whatever, but you're right. Without the exemption, then the dumpster you're paying more and. You know, I think about it like, okay, if it's less than $14 a month, which doesn't sound like, it just isn't a lot on a monthly basis. It would add up.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
it's- But
right.
it's something if you, you know, something like this, I think about.
Where does that
okay,
money, my question, I just think about this, where does that money even go? Cause obviously it's just a pass through, like, so.
pass through the-
So Pelletieri would just be benefiting from that then, assume, yeah, cause they would be collecting on the contracted amount. Plus the dumpster essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would flow through. The town doesn't take any.
Right,
percentage
right.
Or anything like that. We're not legally able to do that and. You know, it's just the contract amount that we, you know, Pelletieri.
I haven't got any assurances, at least from Pelletieri, talking grades a little bit, and it's just, you know, like that they would actually come down and do the can situation.
Did she committed to that, like in the last few days?
There was a couple, she was like, well, it could work, and maybe I missed something, but I know it seemed like wasn't concrete. It's so.
You know, I asked her because I will say that, you know, dealing with Dale or Arlen or you, I wasn't really quite sure if anybody worked with Grace on the location that she had pointed out in this particular email. And this email is from March of.
Yeah, this is the one, I just, yeah.
So this is the one, and I asked her, I was trying to reach out to her today to say, did this ever whatever happened to this email? Did it, you know, 'cause I didn't know if you know, had gotten this email and, she seemed to indicate, you know, so what would have to happen is it the right side the arm is? They would be
Yes.
backing in
It's back
to
in.
the driveway because the arm would be on the right side of the truck.
Yep.
And then they would have the cans there where then they could pick them up. So the idea could be, as I know you were really concerned about the cans, you could still have a structure built on well, we're looking at it different, but the right side. And then you could bring the cans over to the left side so they're able to be collected because of the way that the arm of the truck is.
Yeah,
So that's where she was talking about. So, you know, it would be, because that's your private property, you would have to work with them on what that looks like. That I don't know.
they
So,
also requested, I believe they'd request, we'd have to indemnify them of all damages.
and I think you would have to go with the.
Correct, and that's why we would take that on, but I mean, again, we want to pay double, that's why, I mean, we're willing to take it on for the dumpster. What concerns me about that solution is now you're adding a truck, because I think that would be once a week. You're adding more weight. I don't know what the weight difference between a dumpster truck versus a can truck is, but I mean, now you're putting a more financial burden on us because that road's gonna give way.
Now, I did talk to her about that and she said, you know, if you don't leave cans out there weekly, they won't come down there weekly. Like, so let's just say you only wanted carts to be picked up every other week. They would do that. They won't drive down there if there's no carts there.
Yeah.
So
makes
that
sense.
is.
I just know I have a family of 2 small kids. I have garbage every week. You know.
Yeah, I
so-
think, but
so I
I
just,
think
I don't want to be.
dumpsters are every other week, right? That's the, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think they would honor that as well with the carts if that's what you wanted.
I mean, I know the ordinance is a multifamily definition, but I mean, is there no, I mean, I used to work in housing. I know there's variances and things like that. We used to apply for all the time. I mean, those are usually more well written out, but there's no way we can be considered any equivalent of a multifamily.
Not today, not the way it's written.
I think that was what we were waiting for the last time you were, and so our attorney responded.
I saw the response from the attorney. I guess, yeah, I think, yeah, we're unique. We're a unique township. I just don't think they looked at every, they probably took a copy and paste. I mean, they didn't look at every situation. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I just, so if a garbage can gets hit, or if somebody was to get an accident, who is liable on Lincoln Road? I mean, is there any, I was just thinking about that. Is there any liability for, with those carts being on the shoulder, cans being on the shoulder out there? That the township has or no?
I mean, like, if somebody gets injured at one of our town parks, you know, we're not liable for something like that. So I mean, I would assume it's going to be something along those lines, like, you know, we are, you know.
But I think his question, if I may,
Yeah.
is, okay, if the property owners have their carts out there. And somebody runs into the garbage truck or whatever. Because their carts are the ones who they're picking up as the owner of the cart, so to speak, or the garbage. Do they have liability?
Yeah.
I would think,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, and I don't know, I mean, there's carts used all over the world, so I guess that would be a question for.
A quick
you know.
Google search says that the driver is liable unless for some reason the owner of the bin is seen as negligent in placement or responsibility of it.
And that would be true of anyone in our township who puts a card out on. Same situation would apply. In terms of. Would be unique to your driveways.
Well, those are the two options that our community feels that we kind of want to go ahead with. Just don't feel like we should have to pay double, and that's what we kind of want you to weigh in on. Any other comments, Dale, or?
Having the carts on the east side of the road is unacceptable. It's windy, it's more dangerous. It's kind of like having them on Lincoln Road. We would put the dumpsters on the west side of the road where we got protection from grape arbor and the row of apple trees there. It'd be a much less windy situation. Of course, dumpster doesn't really matter because they're not going to go over, but carts will. It would be totally unacceptable to have the carts on the east side.
I believe you might have mentioned the idea of building some sort of a berm to surround the dumpster.
I'm sorry, I'm a little hard of hearing.
The dumpster, you were talking about having some kind of a barricade so that you wouldn't have that dumpster just sitting out in plain sight.
Yeah, we would,
Is that true?
we do landscaping, we're gonna, put obviously enough gravel, whatever Pelletier requests, and also have it screened or have a fence of some sort, make it safe and secure.
Since it's on our property, we were willing
Do
to
that.
do the leveling and the gravel and all the site preparation.
I have seen out in various country settings. It's a one home operation, but people will build some kind of a structure where they put their bins.
Yes.
And they leave them there even and just drive their garbage down to the structure, which is convenient to the road. Couldn't you possibly use that structural idea and have your cans there rather than? And then if you're saying you'd like your garbage picked up weekly and the dumpster would be every other week, you would have the garbage getting out of there more expeditiously weekly if you were able to make the cans work.
No.
Well, in theory too, I mean, again, it goes back to the quantity of homes. We're not 3 or 4 homes, we're 10. We're calling the business, so now that structure, I mean, pretty big structure.
It'll be as maintained.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
that's,
not
yeah,
being acceptable.
that wouldn't be acceptable for the landowner.
We've got the dumpster at our place. Both places use it. We use it for net wrap and everything off our bales. And couldn't you put a dumpster down at the end of the driveway? The south end of the driveway. And each of you contribute to the price of the dumpster. And I don't know what's on our contract, they're $118 or something. They pick it up every 2 weeks. And they come in at 3 o'clock in the morning and pick it up, so there's no other traffic around or anything. Would that work to put a dumpster down there? Everybody can put their garbage in the dumpster?
Which location are you talking about now?
Go down Lincoln Road, go down your driveway, all the way down.
All the way down the driveway.
Yeah, where their little turnaround is,
No,
or
they won't.
It would be acceptable to us as long as is the Pelletary would agree to. it.
Yeah, we want, that's what we, that was the first
We
place that we
prefer to have
suggested.
it down
Yeah, we wanted it down there and
And
they,
fans would be perfect down there, because it's obscured down there, so that.
But they can ride up to it, dump it, turn around.
Yeah, they got a turnaround area and everything, but they refuse to come down there. So I think Pelletary has some responsibility here if they're going to be refusing to service. you know,
is there anything,
What we want, then, then they got some legal liability here too. There's no reason why they can't drive down that driveway.
They come in our driveway.
Can I just a side question?
Yeah.
Is it because of the gravel road that they
No,
go down? or is it
it's not a
space?
town road. So if that became, it's a private driveway.
Right,
If that became a town road, they would go down it under the town contract. So that could become a town road if the property owners wanted that to become a town road. They would pay for the improvements for it to be a town road, then the town would maintain it as such in perpetuity, so to speak.
Mhm.
But a town contract, under the town contract, they're not going to go down a private, because that would be under the town contract. They're only gonna service town roads
But-
under the town contract.
And this wouldn't get away from the feeling that you're paying double, but if there were a dumpster down there,
They will not go down a town road and they will not do dumpsters because it's a town contract. A dumpster is a completely separate contract.
right, right.
Yeah, it's a commercial contract. So ours is a, residential contract with them.
Right, but I guess what I'm saying is if you ignore the exemption. Possibility, which does not apply. If the Carindale folks entered into a commercial dumpster agreement
They're saying no, that they won't, they tried.
that. Right, I'm trying to get at why they won't go down the road.
I don't, they told me they won't go down it because it's not a town road.
Got it.
So that's the only thing I know.
Under the town contract.
Right.
Okay, so we don't know about the commercial.
No, we talked, we won't go down our road, just period, correct?
That's.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
understand.
That's my understanding. They just,
But this is, I hope, what had been worked out tonight, so we know what our true options are. There are certain things that are totally unacceptable to me. I'm being one of the primary purposes for this development and so forth. And safety is the primary concern that we have. And if the town wants to take responsibility of having these dumpsters all sitting along Lincoln Road. But that's your choice.
Well, we know that that's an option, right?
Well, we know
Pelletary
that's an option.
Pelletary said that that's
If
not,
that's
they've
the
also
only
said,
option available to us, that's where the dumpsters have, or the bins have to go.
right, if you're saying that pickup on the east side of your driveway is
Right,
not acceptable.
unacceptable.
Because we think that they've offered that up too as an option.
He
Oh,
said
we need to
do it,
confirm.
but from a legal point of view, we don't want it done.
You don't want it,
It's
yeah.
too dangerous a location. If the town wants to have, I don't know who has the liability here, but on Lincoln Road, we don't have the liability. On our road, we do have the liability.
Mhm.
yeah, because that is the way with the
So
business
that's
there.
a totally, having the bins on that side of the road is totally unacceptable.
So let me just throw this out there, but if the town had just raised the regular local property tax, right? If it weren't a separate item, it would be like any other tax increase, right, to cover this service. It's a little bit different. The accounting we have to do a little bit differently. You can refuse the bins, right? You can refuse the carts and do the dumpster if you want to do it, but we just can't give you an exemption. I think that's the option.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm a little hard of hearing, so I didn't get all of that.
They won't give us the exemption. They said they can't. They will not give us the exemption.
We cannot give you the exemption.
Well, I have an ordinance that nobody's qualified for. Talked about,
Yeah, nobody.
nobody in the township.
Well, the other thing too, it's their multifamily. I'm not, do we have a
There's at least
multifamily?
one on Allen off of Netherwood. There's a rental unit, yeah.
Yeah, I know, yeah, I didn't think there was any.
And there's definitely commercial, right? There's definitely other agriculture.
Yeah, I get the agriculture. I know, yeah.
Well, if there's no options here, then the town will have to provide a place for them on Lincoln Road and,
Have to go there.
And we've offered to take gravel down and to smooth the, make the surface work for it.
it's on Lincoln Road,
And on Lincoln Road, yeah.
And if we can put, I mean, I don't know, option two, I talked to Grace for a while about it. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, I work in finance, and we find ways to do creative things. I don't know why they can't make that work, but.
I don't,
Yeah.
I really don't either.
Did you talk to her about it, or?
Jennifer talked to her,
I talked to her after you talked to
I
her.
mean, it's just a reduced contract. I mean, yeah, I don't.
Indicated that it seemed like it was almost like two separate companies. That's kind of how I got the impression that they were, and so I would say the same thing. I was a little, you
Yeah,
know,
I realize that this.
it seems like,
Would have to go along with this compromise, and unfortunately, apparently, they won't do that. I would think there'd be accounting systems available so that they could do so. But that's particularly what our options are. We were more than willing to pay additional money to put in another system on our property on the east, on the west side of the road, where it would be safe and secure. We do not want, especially, we would not want to have bins sitting on the other side of the road, because that would be just as insecure as along Lincoln Road. And if we want to have, I'm on Lincoln Road and have the town have the responsibility, that's fine. That's the way we'll go. But we're trying to offer an alternative that would be safer, more secure, and better in the long term for everybody.
I have to say too, that the office has tried and put a lot of time and energy into trying to find a solution for your group. And Pelletier too.
Come down our driveway and pick up the bins down in a protected area. That would be my first option. If they're refusing to do that, and they're also refusing to do the supplemental payment situation. So unless we can't work it out, if we can't work it out with that Pelletier, then I guess our options are very limited.
Yeah, I think if you don't want to put carts on the east side of your driveway, then I think it does come down to a dumpster. Either a dumpster or the carts on Lincoln, and you know, you've got the choice on that. But I think that's about it.
There's no way of entertaining, like, has any discussion of revisiting the ordinance to carve out an exemption
Not,
at the town level?
there's been discussion, but I think the timing is wrong. I mean, it would be great for you, but we need to let this situation age for a while and see what other adjustments we might need to make, and to make it before it even starts seems like maybe not the right time.
So you are open to making, if you get, as you see this play out, and if, you know, you see maybe other potential situations that you didn't think of, you're open to entertaining to open that back up.
If you want to work that angle, which maybe is a good idea, I would get the carts then. And not enter into a long-term contract, but that might, you really have to see how it goes. You know, one way or another, you could get the carts, because there's not an exemption,
They
right?
can
There's,
take, yeah, I already talked to Pelletier. I mean, they said if something's not going, they'll come and grab them, they'll do whatever. They you know, that's not and it's free, like they don't charge us for a trip charge or anything like that.
right. But I guess what I'm getting is if you want to have the most flexibility in the situation, it would be the carts, right? Because you don't lose anything, you know, if you decide to go a different direction, you're not.
Right,
You're not
right,
using
no,
it.
Yeah, we're not gonna invest in a dumpster.
yeah, whatever, it's not gonna work. Do we-
have the go ahead to do that, because and we could opt out. And or Pelletier would figure out how to do the coding system and get a little more innovative.
Administrative, we submitted the forms, obviously, I mean, they didn't get through, so how does that work? I mean, nothing was submitted to Pelletier, right, as to who does or doesn't get cards or.
From your neighborhood, no. No, as far as, I mean, well, as far as who gets them,
Yeah,
everybody's gonna get them.
okay.
I will probably ask the board though to deny if that's the direction they're leaning in, and I would send each of the people that submitted a request for exemption a letter. So people that are approved, I will send them a letter of approval, and then if they're denied, I would send them a letter of denial, since they actually filled out the form. So the board will have to make a motion on that.
Okay, so it sounds like you expect some improvement along the edge of Lincoln Road, so we can.
And Able.
Able is on this week and next week, so it would be the last week of July that he would be.
June.
June, sorry, I'm so sorry. Wow, the summer's not going by that fast. Yes.
Because July 1 is when.
July 1 is coming very good.
Yeah, so the last week of June, you know, I will send him a message and I think he has your contact information, or I will send him your contact.
Yeah, he's called me, yeah,
Okay.
I set the original
Okay.
appointment, so.
So, yeah,
Well, unfortunately, common sense doesn't prevail. They'll have to move forward the way we can.
Anybody want, make a motion on the one, and on any of the Lincoln Road, so the Lincoln Road, 5683 through 5707 Lincoln Road, applications for exemption.
Motion that the exemptions
Seconds. Any more discussion? Hearing none, so
I would say I like the idea of looking into if there's something that can be worked out in the future. I think it's a great idea to keep our eyes and minds open for that.
Ways to do it. I didn't want to say anything tonight because I did it one time. And it was slammed in, but you know, they're probably not going to use all their carts. You put half of them down there in that nice spot, everybody. I think it could work out nicely.
I think Carl well spoken when it said we need to keep this, it's brand new. There's glitches that were not foreseen before I was here.
Yeah, I thought I heard, you know, there, we may hear from other people. And this gives us some time to really process everything, and then if we do need to make adjustments, we'll have a better feel for what's.
any more discussion before we vote on this? So all in favor of denying the exemption application, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. And the motion to deny the exemptions passes.
And I did not.
Correct, you did not vote. Item number 10, discussion and possible approval of hiring an engineering firm for the Leaders Road extension. And this is the situation where we received a little bit more information from each of the two companies.
and I'm just gonna mention, Carl, since Corey came in a little bit later, that he's in the audience, and I don't know if he'd like to speak, but he might not have heard the age now.
I don't have anything to say. I just wanted to be available in case you guys had any additional comments. I don't have to be in the room while you guys discuss it for your comfort.
No, it's okay. I just had something to add, so I want to just make him aware some.
Nope, I just wanted to be here in case you guys had any additional questions for me on for my company.
So that would be starting on page
63.
63, yes. And I will notice that Corey really did a nice job, and he looked at the agenda packet, which makes me very happy because I spend a lot of time on those agenda packets, and the fact that he looked into it and was able to sort of pick out of there what our attorney had pointed out as things that were questions, or what do you call them, loophole, Larry? So he was able to address those on page 63 in his email.
And can I just clarify that from JT, we've got the one page
Yes, so,
of staff profiles.
right, so 63 was, 63 and 64 were the 2 pages from EMCS. And then just page 65 was what I was sent for JT. And to be honest, I didn't ask them to respond to our attorney's email. I just asked them for their references. But like I said, Corey was nice enough to rather.
And to remind everyone accurately, I think, is in the last meeting, we were sort of a standstill as far as this decision goes. You know, it was a dead heat, and that's why we asked for additional information. So based on the new information, does anyone have a motion? Or more discussion?
Well, we wanted to decide which company had the most experience with this particular situation. Wasn't that what we were looking for?
Mhm.
And I don't know whether all of this totally answers that question. I mean, I think maybe Corey's does a little more, but they both do. So we're still that heat.
Anyone else? No, one way or another, it's gonna be a slight edge. Whatever we decide.
I mean, I don't know, it's appropriate to see if Jerry has a preference.
I do not. This
That's
is
what I
a
thought, yeah.
town of Oregon board decision.
Corey, do you want to decide?
Just flip a coin.
Okay.
What is it, Johnny Carson, didn't you put
Yeah.
what did he used to do, put a playing card on his head and,
Cardiac.
yeah.
Well, if you're gonna do that, I think there was a slight edge. I move we retain. Well, make sure I have the right. EMCS for the services to be reviewing the engineering plans from Mr. Jensen.
Do you hear a second?
I'll second that.
Could we, we'll do discussion, but can we type that up? Can we, this is one of the cases where I think we should type it out. And not necessarily a reminder on this, but some of the motions can be complex, or it would be good to really get them down word for word. So let's do it here.
Let me try and find if I can find a notepad. Since this is asking me a lot.
If we're identifying it as the Windridge Road extension. Would be the proper term.
If you just search in your start box for notes, you can do like a note.
Okay.
Just start typing like note
Start
or
typing.
sticky, yeah.
There we go. Sticky note. right
Yeah.
there. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Do you want to restate? The motion, or
Restate
Jennifer,
the
you got
motion?
most of it?
Okay, I move we retain. EMCS to be doing the engineering review of the proposed Windridge Road extension. This road is,
Yeah, it is. Really.
okay.
Motion to retain EMCS to be doing the engineering review of proposed Windridge Road extension.
And the second still holds, whoever did the second,
Second.
still seconded. Okay, any more discussion on this one? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. And that passes.
Thank you for the clarification.
Bring my packet back.
Are you in JT? No, I'm JT. I'm sorry. I'm with EMCS. EMCS. I'm with MC. Sometime I'd like to get your card. Like I have something in your car.
Okay.
Okay.
66 should be.
sure you two will be talking. Yeah.
Here we go.
So the next three items are alcohol beverage well, one renewal, two renewals, one new, like, I guess we should do them separately. Okay, so number 11 is discussion possible approval for the 23-24 renewal of license for Fox Golf LLC. Any questions about the application? And if none, then I'd entertain a motion.
Move renewal of the Class B beer and cider only license for. Well, excuse me?
No, no,
No, I got the wrong one. Renewal of
Mm-hmm.
alcohol beverage license, Class B combination. Fermented malt beverage and intoxicating liquor for Fox Golf LLC for the Foxborough Golf Club. Michael Keurig. The agent.
Any second to that? A second. Steve seconds. Any more discussion? Hearing none, do a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed say no. And that passes.
And I will make a correction. The number 12, that should be a renewal, and I
Oh, it is,
apologize.
okay.
Yeah, I
thought it
apologize
said-
that I just noticed that was, he got this last year, and obviously that was a cut and paste.
This is a renewal.
That is a renewal.
Number 12,
I'm
number
sorry
12 is a
about that.
renewal.
So he, that's the apple orchard, if you're all familiar with Alpine
Mhm.
Orchard, apple orchard. And so they're making cider from their apples.
Okay, so let's see. So item 12, discussion and possible approval of a 23-24 renewal for Class B beer and cider for Alpine Ridge Orchard. Any discussion, questions, or motion?
Make a motion for the renewal of the 2023-2024 alcohol beverage license, Class B beer and cider only license, Alpine Ridge Orchard, Brandon, Lawrence.
I'll say, Steve seconds. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. And that passes. Agenda item 13, discussion on possible approval of operator licenses. These are renewals at Foxborough. Any questions about that or comments or a motion?
This is it says approval, this is also a renewal?
These both of both Parker and Pam have received bartender operator license for bartending last year. So they both got them last year, so this would be a renewal of what they received last year.
So the previous license for the facility, this is the bartender.
Exactly,
Right.
yeah.
Operators. Yeah.
And we do, Stephanie does background checks, so on page
Yeah.
74. She has an email, and I did forward all of those background checks to Carl so he could look those over to make sure there was nothing else. We don't include all of that.
Any other questions or discussion? And I would take a motion on item 13.
I make a motion to approve the operator license at Fox Club LLC, Foxborough Golf Club for Parker Wilson renewal and Pam Clausen renewal.
I'll second. Steve seconds. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. And it passes. Item number 14 is it's an alternate draft of ordinance number 98, but I didn't include the previous draft in here, so some of you may not have seen this until you actually got the packets or afterwards. So what I'm suggesting on this one is we postpone until July, the July meeting, so that we can compare the two drafts and have discussion about those. Any objection to that?
And I just kind of want to explain that we had the one that the attorney drew up is the same one as the town of Dunn.
And then we had the one that the group changed, and it went to quite a far extreme. And I don't know what we heard back from. We heard from Chief Linsmeyer, and he liked the original. But then the third one was a compromise between the two, so it'd be nice if everybody would just see how they feel about that.
I missed that one, last sentence.
There's three, there's the original, and then there's a one that the group that Jesse was a part of, they did, and now there's a third one. That's more of a compromise between the two others. So everybody can look at it more carefully, we can maybe decide next time.
Yeah, just to be fair to everybody, the two of you, and you may need to, like Laura, you may need to dig back to a previous packet. Just- You have it already, okay. So we will postpone that until July. Extremes.
It's you.
Yes.
Before we get it back.
What's that?
Stand up before you get another.
I'll wait for this fat break. I was gonna wait till 7:30. I would probably answer this. Please. I will. I actually took a lot of magnesium. I actually took like a lot of magnesium. Let's see what I'll do. Item number 15 is discussion and possible approval of ordinance number 96, an ordinance for town board meeting and parliamentary procedure to include policy of decorum. Do you want to talk about this?
So there is, Wisconsin Towns Association provides a link to Wisconsin Town Forms, and one of them is an ordinance that sort of dictates how meetings are run. This kind of came about when we changed the date of our meeting to the second Tuesday of the month. And then it became more apparent when we needed to pass a policy of decorum, which is part of this ordinance that has been suggested townships pass. So we kind of wanted to roll that all into one. The ordinance just talks about things such as following Robert's Rules of Order. It talks about what would happen if the chair was absent, who would be leading the meeting, talk about what the clerk. So some of it's common sense that we've already been doing, but it's sort of putting it down in writing. And Carl and I talked, but just recently about what we wanted to include in the ordinance. So I think we could have another draft for everyone to look at, and then maybe a suggestion for July. One of the points of it is the way that agendas are drafted. And right now, and how it's always kind of worked is the chair sort of directs what's on the agenda. There could be an option of, if anybody wanted something on the agenda, they would just have to contact me and then it could get added to the agenda. So I guess that is part of this ordinance of how you'd like to handle that. So.
And it's in the draft now.
It is in the draft right now.
Yes. And now with that, and my question back on that draft was, maybe that's the way we've done it in the past. I don't know, I guess. You would know better than I, but I swear somewhere I read, I don't know if it's Towns Association or what it was, that board members, if something wasn't on the agenda and the chair was roadblocking it for some reason, they could vote to have it put on.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a different situation.
I think that that's the way that it happens, but I think you could write an ordinance and you could say, you know what, we're going to let anyone add at any time.
Right.
And that has not happened.
Right.
Yeah.
So so that's something we can.
Yeah,
we
so
can
it's
talk
something
about
you guys
next
can
meeting.
look at and you can decide. There's just different things, like a lot of it is just maybe more like kind of common sense things. I think I kind of went over it with Kate a little bit today, and it's, but I think the main goal was to try to include the policy of decorum to just make sure our meetings run
Mhm.
in a way that you guys would find to be acceptable.
And maybe just a little background for the new people, there was a lot of problems with different issues in not just our town, but some other towns with board meetings getting out of control and people being unruly and unkind. And so the town of Rutland came up with this policy of decorum, which were rules to follow when people were at a meeting. And if you didn't, you'd have to be asked to leave. So we kind of wanted to have something in place if we had those kind of situations happen here.
So we'll work on that draft, see what it looks like in July and talk about it then.
You know,
I think it's okay.
Robert's Rules is rather extensive and long gested affair. Do they not have such rules within them?
Well, I don't know specifically, but there is a lot of overlap in this draft with Robert's Rules of Order. And what I didn't do was compare the draft to the actual book and see if we were moving away from something, you know, from what's in the book. So I don't know the answer to your question sitting here.
And it's interesting
it-
because we've had this, we've had it on the agenda many months and it was always taken off.
That is true, actually.
So it originally was just going to be a policy, and you can have things be a policy. What tends to happen, which ordinance is just more permanent, so it kind of is a little bit more weight to something that you want. So it kind of fits into, so this parliamentary procedure is something that it's a form that the Legislative Reference Bureau has online, and it's just kind of like a sample that all these townships. So when you ask if there's a comparison between Robert's Rules of Order, you know, it's a sample ordinance that we're just kind of taking out what we don't need and keeping in what we want to need. So I can send you it, you can find the link from the Wisconsin Towns Association. And really how I found it was when we wanted to change the meeting date. The question is where is it written that we have to have the meeting on the second Tuesday of the month, or the first Tuesday of the month? And I was like, I don't know. And when I tried to find it, I was like, oh, there's this ordinance, and the policy of decorum would fit nicely within this ordinance.
It'll be codified at some point too.
Yes,
Which
and
is a
that's
plus.
going to get to that, get to my portion at the end of the agenda.
Jump the
Yeah.
gun. Okay, so anything else, Arlen, on that one? Anybody?
This question.
Well, back to that in a way, I do want to take a look and compare the meeting rules in the draft versus what's typically understood as the way to do it. And I don't know if it was a Towns Association presentation, but one of the lawyers there suggested that for small town boards, you don't have to use something that applies to, say, like the US Congress. And to look more at there's either a small board section in the newly revised version or the whatever the newly revised light version is called. There are two versions of it. But that's, I think, something we should look at and see. If we're not changing anything from standard Robert Rules of Order, then maybe we don't need it in there, in the ordinance. But if we're tweaking it a little bit, whether it's whatever it might be, number of votes or anything like that, then maybe we keep our own board revision in the draft. So anyway, we'll have to look at. I mean, you have to look at. It's like a 9-page document, so. But we'll get it in July. Okay, next item, number 16, discussion and possible approval of Plan Commission appointments. And I do want to throw out, so I don't, for me tonight, I don't have any committee assignment changes or commission suggestions, other than there has been discussion about allowing Dave and Sharon to continue on until the comprehensive plan is submitted and approved. They've been involved for probably since day one, I would imagine.
Well, more than day one, they were both on hand for the previous comprehensive plan, where Sharon was for sure. And they are the two senior members of the Plan Commission. I think it'd be most advantageous to have them continue. I have not heard from them whether they wish to be reappointed or not. And I don't know if Jennifer has heard from them or not.
Yes, I believe they both would like to be reappointed. Yes.
They would like to be reappointed.
I believe so, yes.
We believe so.
I'm sure Sharon, I know for sure, and Dave, yes, I would say yes.
Well, I know for sure Sharon wants to see through the passage of the comprehensive plan. It would seem appropriate that there's some time in here that you or that we receive some kind of written, verbal, something
You know, I
from
guess.
them that says that they'd be interested in, so that Carl is still the person who will be appointing or reappointing them for us to approve.
I would apologize. I did not reach out to them individually, so,
Okay, well,
yeah.
we're trying to be a little more official, and I think we're stumbling along on some of that,
Yeah.
and that's understandable.
Well, there's some precedent too that we're trying to
Right,
balance.
and, but I would just be going on the record that if you're going to, I don't think it'd be a bad thing to postpone the reappointment and let them continue to serve as they're not being replaced until the comprehensive plan is in, and then ask them again. But it would be to our advantage to have their experience and skills continue to the implementation of this plan.
Nothing will prevent them from leaving at any point in time. So if they
Right.
choose to want to leave at, once
Right.
the plan's over. We're not holding
Right.
them hostage.
Well, what I'm kicking
Maybe.
around is whether we just say they get another full term.
Right.
You know what I mean? But so
Right.
that's
And then
historically, that's what's happened.
Yeah, and if they chose after the comp plan to decide to,
Then we fill it.
like we would have normally with any other vacancies.
Because the alternative is to say at the end of the comprehensive plan, but who knows how long that'll, I mean, we hope it's not forever.
Sorry.
Don't go here.
So I'm tempted to, well. I'm tempted to say, let the term renew contingent upon them actually wanting it to renew.
And typically what's happened in the past is Wayne has, or, the town chair has gone to the subsequent plan commission meeting and sort of kind of made it official at that meeting. That they were chosen. So I suppose the plan commission meeting's next Tuesday.
Mhm.
So at that point, if they chose to say they didn't want to, or that they had an end date, they could say so too at that time.
Okay. I still wouldn't mind hearing from them. I can contact them.
Yeah.
Ahead of that.
So when
But
do we put up a policy though, the next time around for when there's someone else's who comes up for renewal? I mean, should we
Well-
at some point come up with what that policy is gonna be, even though this is, we agree on what we want to do with Sharon and Dave,
right.
but at some point we should come up with a policy from then forward.
Oh, true. And I think it's actually spelled out in statutes. I mean, this is a statutory commission. I don't know for sure that it says the term of the appointments, but I think it does. So
In
what that
our
would mean,
ordinance, it does, we state in our ordinance that it's in June. They picked that date, so. I don't
and
know.
and what I think we're doing here is an exception to group A. And resuming with group B in June of 2024 by the book. And I'm okay with that.
I guess the question has been, or maybe what Kate's getting at, the question has been is, do you advertise when there's an opening? And I can say from the years that I've been here, typically we haven't advertised if someone has said that they would like a reappointment. And a problem becomes is it's not with Sharon or Dave or anybody else, but it's that do you want more people to just be aware that there's possibly an opening and that they know when to apply and how to apply and when that would be available to them?
Mhm.
Because otherwise, nobody knows when, without watching the agenda, nobody really knows that there's an opening.
Well,
And-
we've advertised for committee openings, haven't we?
Yes, we have.
We have it, like,
So-
especially if they've left, like, if we have an opening at not a term like this, if
Mhm.
they've left, like, say Dave or Sharon decide to leave after the comp plan, we would advertise. But we haven't really advertised at a reappointment date. And this really only applies to the plan commission, because those are the only people that we technically reappoint,
Right,
is only the plan commission.
right.
So I think that what Kate might be getting at is going forward at these reappointment dates, are you going to be advertising in some way,
Noticing it, posting it,
something
whatever.
that there's a term ending, and if people wanted to apply, they might be going against people that want reappointment, but
Right.
And then everybody
Well-
applies. I mean, I kind of like that idea because it's,
And
you
it's
know,
good.
the attitude that it's always the same from year to year to year. And here we've got to run for office every 2 years, but you get appointed for 3 and 3 and 3.
Right.
So I kind of like that idea. And it doesn't mean that we don't want these people and they wouldn't be reappointed, but it'd be nice to open it up to other residents as a new policy.
Well, we have three new, very new members of the plan commission. And they were from vacancies, from retirement or moving to Florida and or getting elected to this board. So I created a void there too. And who else was? Somebody else was not. Anyway, we've got 3, we are having turnover. And so having these veterans reappointed, I think was not a bad idea.
No, I agree with having the veterans reappointed, you know, but then I'm looking the next group, like Tim Yanacek, who is a good friend of mine. He got on the planning commission when Wayne stopped over to his house and said, would you like to be in the planning commission? And I don't know, it just seems like it'd be a nice policy. Okay, we've got 2 people. Let's see if anybody else who's the best person. I kind of like that.
So I agree with,
Yeah.
I think it's important to involve more
Right,
people,
and new
invite
people,
more
yeah.
people, think about being part of.
Right.
I do think.
Yeah, because that, your point of that personal invitation kind of shuts the door
Yes.
for most people. All of a sudden you have a partisan
Right.
member that wants that. And I think the idea of opening it up all the time is always good.
Right.
And then people would know when to expect
Mhm.
that, you know, they could kind of plan on it because it's a regular kind of schedule of reappointment.
It's a good idea.
There was another wrinkle too that we talked about a while. I don't know if the entire board talked about it, but there've been discussions about on the board elections, having the elections by seat. So that it wouldn't be a mass, you know, you're 2 open seats and, you know, 16 people put in their nomination papers and you whittle it down and so forth. But I don't know that would, and it seems like you could debate that one way or the other, I suppose. I don't know that would work here or be a good idea for the plan commission, but it's something out there that we could discuss. You know, I don't think we need to decide on the 2024 situation tonight. But there's certain wrinkles to this where we
Right,
could
just to start a little bit of.
figure out the
Should be on
process. So we should definitely.
agenda. Yeah.
I'd be tempted for a motion on Dave and Sharon, but I feel weird not knowing whether they want to continue.
It'd be good to know.
Yeah, so. At the very least, should we vote on whether their terms continue into July?
Sharon is online.
Sharon.
I am online. I am listening. I think I made it pretty clear that I was interested in staying on. I also think that when you have turnover, if you open it up to new people every term, what if you ended up with a whole new commission that had no background? And at the plan commission, things aren't always cut and dried like we think they ought to be, or interpreting the plan or the questions that people have. So you have to have somebody there that has a little bit of background or history, so to speak. And am I correct that everyone's term does not expire in the same year? I was always under the impression that we had 3-year terms And every year, somebody's term expired. So you didn't end up with a whole new commission all at once.
You know, what you could do is make a nomination and acceptance of the nominees.
And then have all of you approve the nomination. I think so. That's sort of what I said before a little bit. But yeah, so, okay, so
Could I make a motion?
please.
I would like to make a motion, see, I make a motion that we approve the appointment of Dave Hageman and Sharon Christensen for the terms of 2023 through 2026, pending their acceptance.
And do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Lori. Any discussion?
So we'll be talking about, yeah, I totally agree with that. But we'll be talking about what's to come before 2024 to open it up.
Right.
As a separate, right, yes.
Right, we'll talk about it.
Just
Whether they're,
Yeah.
again, what you
Whether
need
to do it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
I,
Aye. Opposed, say no. And motion passes.
I would add to that, Steve, is that in the process of getting a new board member, we realized there was some flaws maybe in that ordinance that was passed a while ago. And so we discussed about adding to the ordinance that we had about filling the town board supervisor position with a little more information. One of the things I think we found was that 4 weeks was a really long time to have that span be open, because
I agree.
it created just such a long time to get work accomplished. So I think we talked about maybe taking that up at another board meeting, adding a little bit to that ordinance, and then, we could probably change the ordinance for the plan commission as well. Appointments.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
We're about an hour and a half in, so why don't we take a recess for 5 minutes? So without objection, the meeting is in recess.
When do we get recesses?
It's a new world, Laura. It's a new world.
Robin?
Yes, I'm definitely here. Sorry, I'm having some problems with my connection right now.
Okay, sorry about that. So we were just talking about the quote, and the question was the time frame. How long we.
Well, I know your goal was to get it done by the end of the year, so we would need to start right away for the design process and then follow through with the rest of the process, but it's feasible depending on what items are needed for lead time for construction. But furniture lead time is doable as well.
How about the actual construction phase where the office, you're gonna have to
So thing is that we would just be able to like work out here all while they were, you know, doing the office space. So the hope is, although tight, that we could do this during the summer months and be doing it during a year as an off year, so we don't have any more elections this year. So that's why we would like to be ready, because we will. We will be starting that's sort of what we're hoping to get it done prior to.
Which is. Primary would be with,
February of 2024, right?
so we have 8 months.
Right, so that's sort of the unfortunate thing about, you know, having one vote and having monthly board meetings is getting that tight timeline with if I needed to get everyone another vote, so I apologize for that.
Well, at this point, is there a second vendor for this? I know you had one that.
Yeah, that didn't really pan out. I'm looking for another one that could come in and do it, so, you know, I think that the biggest thing we're worried about is just any kind of supply chain kind of issues by putting them behind. But now, Robin's husband has Bachman Construction, and, you know, we would have to do a separate contract for the actual construction work, so that would have to come separately in a separate contract, so.
Okay.
So this is not including,
Oh, I see.
you know,
Okay.
so. And Robin, maybe you can speak to that, of how that works.
Sure. Well, design is the first step in all of this process that you would be undertaking. So we include the design process, the specifications in order to get pricing from Bachman, and we would use open book pricing. They would provide pricing for every category. You could use your preferred vendor. You could choose your subcontractor. It would be completely open book based on our design.
Oh, we lost you, Robin.
Looks like she put herself on mute.
Yeah, Robin, you're on mute. I think she was on her phone, so unfortunately.
So the 12,005 is for design.
Yeah.
There's a design
Yeah.
phase,
Yeah,
and we have no idea really on quote from Bachman.
no, we don't have
Whoever.
anything, so I think that would all just be, right. I don't know.
Have you written down, or you give a lengthy description of the things that were missing? Need to be revised. Do you have that written down?
You know, Robin might have taken notes when we met, so we didn't sit down and write it down ourselves. We more like verbalized it to her when she came.
For
For the design of,
what needs to change here? I think we need to have that on record for saying, yeah, we need to have these things happen.
did you write down when we met? You took notes. Did you write down all of the things we talked about, what we wanted to change?
Yes. Sure, I'm happy to send over a summary of that.
Okay, that would be great. Then that would
You
be,
send that summary, then
Yeah.
that'd be something to say, this would be the scope of the.
sure. One of the things that I think talked about is that front office space that Stephanie currently occupies. There's that front office table. We would move her desk to more of that area and we would make that larger area more of like a common space for, so the building inspector doesn't really have an office. We don't have, his files are half in there, they're half in there, there's some in there. We would like all be validated. We would like there to be places for each things we're doing. And then there would also be room, like if somebody wanted to come and meet their area in that central space for people to like meet or congregate or do something. Often we'll leave workers during times like their Tuesdays.
Jennifer, there is something written up in my scope proposal. It's not the actual program of what we were going to do. But there is definitely a description of what we were planning on doing, but I'm happy to re-summarize that.
So that would be on page 99. Yeah, there we go. So, yeah, workspaces, visitors, residents, really talked about making sure that our documents are kept, and everyone knows where things are and we can access them. We do a lot of things with binders. We would like some bookshelves for binders, things like that. There's simple things such as we get a lot of, and I don't see this changing, but like a new house is coming in, or we get like pulled up plants. They're little pigeonhole, little cubby holes that we can be putting things in instead of kind of rolling around all over the place or sitting on top of things. Some of our cabinet desks are just, can't put a binder in them because they're too narrow. So something like that.
Let me go back a step or two with me. Back to the sort of the market for other interior design firms. Are you finding, I would assume there are a fair number in the mix. But are you finding that or not so much?
The problem just becomes is like everybody is busy and everybody is, stressed. That's going to take on a job that's small, a small job. I mean, I think I could find someone. I just haven't had luck as of yet. So.
And what I'm getting at is whether to, I don't know, whether we need a second quote for the design phase. I can see it where we do construction. It's a bigger dollar. But I wonder if we need a second quote or not in this phase. That'd be the safest thing to do, probably.
I mean, I'll see if I think we need to.
So could we do something? I'm thinking maybe I could try to arrange a second quote, maybe we'll schedule maybe if something would come about, possibly scheduling a meeting before the July meeting. And
yes.
would that be? Okay. That was me. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so we'll postpone this. Well, we'll postpone this to July.
Yeah.
But then bring it earlier if there's a special.
And if anyone has any recommendations of someone I want to reach out to those people. Okay. Okay. Anybody have any more questions for Robin? Thank you, Robin.
Thank you. All right, next item is number 20, the fire and EMS reports. You go in order or Oregon first.
Not much, just starting to look at the preliminary budget.
Okay. For Belleville, not much either. There are tonight's meeting agenda is in the packet, and then also the minutes from the last meeting. There's still a lot of work on staff in there.
When is the next? For my calendar. Thank you, Kate, for going to that last meeting.
I didn't go.
Oh, no, okay, so when is the next meeting of these since
Brooklyn?
Yeah, the Brooklyn, I think is the one I'm appointed to.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And
Maybe.
I don't have it in front of me. I don't know. Mark, what night are the Brooklyn fire and EMS meetings?
I just had it here in front of me.
I think it's,
So, oh, is it?
looks like it's Wednesday night.
Yeah, so the last one was May 20.
21st of July?
June.
Of June. Okay.
I did want to point out, I apologize, on page 112. I think I sent it out as a calendar announcement, but I wanted to be sure since it's a date in July, July 26th, Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. There is a joint meeting. This is when all the partners for the Oregon Fire District meet and have a discussion. So there's usually one in July and then there's one in September. But just to add that to your calendar, July 26th, and that would be at the new Village Hall, which is over on 101 Alpine Parkway.
Okay, so nothing else on Belleville?
Now, are they usually the third Wednesdays then? Is it?
Pardon?
Are the meetings, are they usually on the third Wednesdays of a month?
Usually the second.
Usually the second.
Yeah.
Okay, this
But
one.
now it's the
This was
21st.
on the 24th of May, yeah.
Okay, because the third one, they got the third
Yeah.
in June, so.
See, we can get you on the mailing list.
Yeah, give me on the mail, it's if I'm gonna be on there. I haven't, obviously I should know that. So, okay, thanks.
Well, good job.
That's good, thank you.
Everything is going smoothly in Brooklyn. Budgets are all good, line items. Thing I would like to ask is, we have an account for retirement, line item. Item for retirement for the firemen. We give each fireman $100 a year at Christmas time that has retired. And for years, we've been putting $2,000 a year into that account. Well, it has got up to $54,000. And going over the books and with the accountants and everybody, and it's gonna take an awful long time to use up that money. So, as you know, a year ago, we lost a firefighter on the Beltline at a motorcycle accident. And he did all of our air conditioning, heating work. He was a godsend, never charged us a cent. And I wanted to take money out of the general fund and pay for his funeral expenses. And some of the board members said that was not thinking to do that. It was a line item.
I thought it was the thing to do out of our heart. Anyway, I would like to take $10,000 out of that 54,000 and put it into a separate account and earmark it memorial. A line item for memorial. So if this ever happens again, we could have a line item that we could use for that. And flowers or somebody, or a plaque for somebody who retires or something. Now that's taken out of the fire association money, which the firemen raise themselves through benefits and card parties and all of that stuff. And I just, my gut feeling is that's the way to do it, to have a line item. And then anybody's got any questions, okay, this is a line item on our budget. That's where our budget is constructed. Everything is on the line item. Boots, helmets, fire hoses, everything is on a line item. And we don't come back to the board and say, well, we need another 50,000 for a new motor and a truck or anything. That everything is line item for an expenses. So I would like the board's decision on that, if I'm crazy or not. And go ahead.
I was gonna say, was there, your meeting was last night? No, your meeting was not last night.
No, coming up.
There was discussion about that though a month ago,
Yes.
and I don't remember exactly how it went at the end.
Well, we were not gonna put any more money into this retirement account.
Right.
And just let it sit there and draw the interest that it is. It's still gonna take a long time to use up $54,000.
Put it in a CD, interest rates
So-
are crazy right now.
That's where it's at. And take 10,000 of that and put it in a CD or an account. So we can draw interest on this 10,000, but more than where it's drawing interest or whatever. My concern is it's a line item on the budget. So that nobody can come back and say, well, you took funds out of here, or you did this, whatever. It's a line item on it.
So is there a proposal document from the district board? That's been approved by the district board
To do this,
to do that, yeah.
no, I want to bring it up at the meeting. This coming meeting. Propose it to the board, but I wanted your feeling so that they say, well, does Oregon board approve this, or do they know about it? Yes, I explained it to them.
Is this our?
That's what I'm not exactly sure. I mean, we could give you an informal
Yes.
opinion, but you would
What's your,
get
what's
5 or
your
6
opinion? I know
opinions.
you have to go, you'd have to have it on the budget or it's not budget. You have to add it on your agenda and vote on it and make it legal. But
Right.
I would like an opinion. It's just,
I think this is a policy thing that the Brooklyn Fire Department needs to be working through. It sounds like a worthy thing to be doing, but I'm not quite sure what the whole picture is.
I kind of feel like that we're going in the reverse here, though. It should be the discussion at the district board meeting
right,
where your other members may not come up with, you may not agree on this, right?
that's right. But I want to get your opinion. So when we go to the board meeting and discuss this. And then. One of the boards or two of them say, well, no, I really don't agree with this. Then I can say, okay. I presented it to the town board, which I represent on the fire board. And I got yeah, okay, maybe we should look at it, or it's a good idea. Or no, I don't, we won't do anything about that. So we have to discuss it at our board meeting, and then it has to come back to you.
Right.
But I just wanted to tell you what was going on, because you get feedback or whatever, and well, what they talking about this,
Right.
you know, retirement or memorial fund or something. So now you know what I'm gonna bring up to the board.
I hear you.
I would think money that's in an account like that would be accounted for each municipality based on our percentage we pay in.
Exactly, and we're only like 10% of the
So,
Brooklyn budget.
right,
So we
Village
get,
of Brooklyn would have the most ownership of those funds,
Right.
so to speak.
right. So we probably can't give you anything binding, right? We can give personal opinions. But like Jennifer is saying, our impact on the budget there is a small portion.
But do you think I'm nuts in doing it, or do you think it's a good idea?
I guess I just don't know, I don't know the legal ramifications of doing something like that. That the only thing I would know.
I can
Because
say,
it's government funds.
yeah, I don't know. that
Yeah.
either. I can tell you conceptually, I think it's a good idea to have a memorial fund. I don't know how you get there, though. I don't know if it's funds transferring from someplace else or if it's new funds.
We would take some of the 10,000 out of this 54,000 that is in an account now, then it's earmarked.
Right, I understand that. I just don't know the legality of that.
Now, I don't know the legality of the 54,000, what. It's, what was the reason for it being created? And is that reason still there? That, I don't know.
The 54,000?
Yeah.
For retirement for the firefighters.
And I don't know what the commitment is for that, because in some respect, how many members are in the fire department?
Oh, 30 some, but there's
30 some?
I think there's 6 or 7 of them retired that get this $100
Okay,
Christmas.
I don't know what the actuary, what is the payout of that or the commitment that 54,000 is to cover.
Oh, it's gonna be there
That
a
would be
long
an
time.
important, that would be an important thing to know.
Right.
That'll be there
Even,
for-
hopefully it's gonna be there in place and not disappear unless the fire department disappears.
And I think that's even beyond us, though. I think that's beyond our
That's what I mean, that's beyond our.
purview.
Okay, I'll bring it up with the board and see what they think, and then we probably have to get legal.
Go through it, the concept sounds noble.
Yeah.
And I can't say much more than that, I don't know what the obligations are. And if it is a good idea, it's a noble idea.
Yeah, thank you. Everything else, I guess, is running smooth. Next question, do you have any decision on my position there?
Not yet. So no changes for.
For now?
Well, it's not, yeah, don't put too much weight on it, but we haven't discussed it. We haven't discussed a lot of committee assignments, so that is still on our to-do list.
Okay, I just see in item 30, it had board approval or board assignments.
Right, and I'm gonna postpone that.
Pardon?
I'm gonna postpone that from this meeting to probably July.
Okay. Thank you much.
Thanks, Mark.
That should be it.
There you go. Number 21 is emergency management report. This is the radio purchase project is still in the works. I've tried to get a hold of a guy named Andy at the Madison radio shop, and we've been missing each other for 6 weeks or so. So I don't have, I don't remember what I updated last time, but we wanted to get a second quote. I contacted a couple places that Glenn in Oregon recommended. Turns out that the Madison radio shop really just gets you a standard pricing that is recognized by other electronic radio dealers, essentially. So he might be like sort of the one-stop shop for getting pricing. I think GenCom, because what he quotes, what Andy in the city quotes is Motorola here. And when GenCom, I don't know that they even carry Motorola. The quote we got was for Kenwood's. So we may have an apples to oranges type of comparison in a month or so, but I don't know yet for sure. And the word I get, I think, if I remember right from Chief Linsmeyer in Oregon, was that or somebody along the lines, maybe actually it was Chad at DaneCom, was that Motorola tends to be really great quality, but also more expensive. So I don't have anything to show you tonight, but by next meeting I should. Any questions on that? All right, next item of business is number 22, Plan Commission report related to public input session.
We had at the last plan commission, we were having public hearing on the comp plan. on the TDR. And that closed, but moving forward, it looks like it's not going to be changing much from what is there. We're going to be having continuation of the public hearings coming up next week.
So July, the Village of Oregon is going to be at the Plan Commission meeting. I'm going to start that meeting at 6 for July, and they are going to be doing a presentation on the annexation of the property by Foxborough. So you can attend that July meeting at 6.
That'd be a good one to come.
Yeah, that would be a good one to go to.
What is the date of that?
I'm sorry, let me look. Yep. July 18th.
18th?
Yeah. Yeah. So they're gonna start at 6 because that is the date that the Plan Commission will gather all the information from the public input sessions and make a final, any kind of changes they would want to make to the draft comp plan if needed, based on anything they heard, to present for the board on August 8th.
18th of July. Okay. That will be at the village.
It will be here,
It'll be here.
here in front of the Plan Commission.
Okay.
Do we know, see, the properties that are part of that are,
The Hoffer property.
Okay.
So we had one public hearing, you'll remember, we did it via Zoom, and because that property backs up to the Fahey Heights.
yes,
So, yeah. And it's slowly, it kind of took a seat back. They ended up buying the Foxborough Golf Course at that point and making redesigns with the golf course and are now coming back with a different plan than they had originally presented. And I know I've attended a couple of the village meetings, and I know there have been town residents at those village meetings throughout this time, so. But
so look for exciting moment.
Any other plan commission news?
Well, we have one coming up next week, I believe it's the 21st. Excuse me, 20.
the
I'm
20th.
sorry, Tuesday, the 20th. Same day I'm scheduling having the honey wagon come and clean out my septic tank. Exciting day. So.
And that's gonna
That just
be on, that was specifically gonna be on, or the plan was that to be on, that scenario 2 with the RH properties.
Yeah.
That was kind of going to be the focus. The last one was on TDR and commercial, and then the focus of this one would be the RH properties and any density, but that wasn't really part of what we were talking about. That was gonna be handled after, but
This is,
it kind of went hand in hand with,
this is a Brian Standing presentation.
yeah, he will be there again.
That's
So
it.
that'd be, since there were questions on the RH or legacy properties, I think that would be good to catch by Zoom or come in.
Now, if more than 2 of us come in, or actually one more of us, we would have to notice that.
And I noticed it on all of the town board agendas. It's always noticed at the bottom of the agendas.
Okay.
Yeah, so we already take care of that. So you are welcome to come to any board meetings because we noticed that,
Or commission meeting.
or commission or committee,
All the things. Okay,
it's always noticed.
that's it, Arlen? That's it? Yeah. Okay. Number 23, Anderson Farm Park.
Steve left, but there are onions sitting on that green table for someone.
Onions?
Yeah,
Is that-
onions, yes, yes,
Been here
Onions?
for a week and a half.
I know.
Oh,
What?
So they have a
Oh, I
big
see what you're
community
saying.
garden at the Anderson
Mhm.
Park, and could someone come get your onions? They're in a brown paper bag.
You're probably throwing away.
I'm gonna say they're yours now.
I don't want them to start rotting because rotting onions don't
And
smell
we
good.
thought she was delivering lunch.
Right.
Oh, that's so disappointing.
And so. Anybody out there, there's onions here for
All right.
the community garden.
All right, we'll go to the next one. How about Public Works Report? And did we get a written anything? No.
There's nothing written. I will just share that, they are working on Alpine Road. One of the problems is any driveway on Alpine Road that is gravel. I do not know how many driveways are gravel. They will repave the road, but repavement is going to be higher than the gravel. So there's going to be a 3.5 inch drop.
Yeah.
So they do not like to drive heavy equipment on that road as it settles. So there may be a few homeowners a little put out over the weekend. They will try to take light loads of gravel to sort of fill that in as best as they can, but
Somebody already took their gravel in preparation for
well,
that.
that's all I was gonna say.
That's true.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I have the same thought, yeah.
Well, and Abel and Ryan are covering for one of the
Yes,
Brooklyn
Yes.
patrolmen who
yes,
had an accident that sounded horrible.
yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, involved a wood chipper.
Fargo.
So their section of Alpine Road is also being done, so
Sounds
they
like- sounds like
kind of need
Fargo
some
movie.
help with
Yeah.
just oversight.
Yeah.
So, if anybody gets any calls on the driveway situation, we will be
You'll
rectifying
be
it.
ready.
Yeah, just.
Right.
But it's just that you don't know when they pave and are Abel's out, so it's just kind of a.
Mhm.
Do we have a estimated time of completion?
I think at the end of this week, they
Yeah.
should be complete.
So that's pretty much to the last meeting's prediction of mid-June, so.
Yeah.
Good.
That's good. Okay, if nothing else with Public Works, we'll go to the next one, Senior Center report.
We didn't meet last month, but we'll be meeting next week.
And item 26 of Road and Traffic Safety Committee report.
You have 2 sets of minutes in there, and we, in the process of finishing off the minutes from the May meeting. The next meeting for the traffic and safety is Wednesday, July 19th at 9:30 a.m. here. There is a thing that found, see, in making that the goal of the 5-year prediction, the predictability of what is coming forward and how that affects the budget. It turns out that the Whistler, the Wisconsin Infrastructure Small, anyway, WISLR.
Local roads?
Local road, there it is, it's a local road, Wisconsin local road thing, that they have a program that actually makes 5-year, that if you tap into it and start plugging in your roads, and what your plans are, that it can give you a running budget as well as what the roads are going to be. So that's the kind of program that I was really looking for, and turns out that it's sort of provided for us as long as we fill it in, but it's not accessible to everybody. And now we got to find out how to get access to it.
I can get access.
Well, you can do it, but I can't. I'm hurt.
So the do we have fresh road ratings?
That's what every 2 years. We submit road ratings. That is part of this process. And I'm hoping that we can have things pretty well scheduled or looked at by the end of this summer, or let's say into the Labor Day, post-Labor Day, somewhere's in that August, September timeframe, that we have this sort of blocked out. be a little more, and also with a budget.
Is it the type of thing like Whistler or Pacer or both, I don't know, where the ratings are more general than what we might do if we do driving around the town? Should we supplement their ratings with actual?
No, we do the rate, Able submits the ratings.
Okay,
So we as a town submit the ratings.
okay, right,
Based on driving around.
based on, okay.
Yeah,
And then,
based on.
and then
physical
that's the Pacer, sends it off.
Okay,
And then the Whistler is a tool for some of the planning.
And so I think a component you're missing is also whenever we do road construction, we put that into Whistler as well. So then it knows, so I was actually taking this book because it's actually kind of, it's cute. It's 1972 and every single year in handwritten is the roads that we construct. So this is cute and in here, but we also did put it in an Excel spreadsheet. So Whistler will take not only the Pacer ratings, but the road work and when we did it, and they'll kind of combine that all into sort of spitting out,
okay.
you know, these predictions.
When did, you know, when Able last did any drive rounds? Has it been a while?
Drive around with people on it.
Or people are not, you know,
No, he's driving
Just
around,
for doing ratings.
he's basically driving around all the time, and I'm not quite sure where we should be quizzing him on this, but it is this year is supposed to be the Pacer rating
oh, okay.
submission year.
Will some of the committee people be involved in that too and driving around?
I hope so.
Now, Abel said he already did the drive around and that nobody wanted to go along. And I'm concerned because things change. And you really have to drive and stop and look and get out. And I don't know that Abel has the time to do that.
I don't think he's done the Pacer yet rating because usually we get like, it's like a spreadsheet that we get and I haven't seen it yet. And then usually he will like fill in the little
Because we wanted
spots.
to do that before the snow fell last year and it never happened where people actually. found it.
But that
And,
was-
you know,
that was
and from
confidential.
what I understand is, you know, it can change that. So it has to be done every year. And I thought that that was what the committee was going to do. And I got that information from talking to a couple of the people in Brooklyn when they got the grant for Alpine. And she told me what their process had been, you know, that they had done all kinds of grants, you know, hundreds. This was the first one that they got. But that she had a group of people that drove around. And then they had the list. And so they knew years ahead what was going to be the next road. But they did that drive every year because quite often the top road might not be the top road anymore. So it's really important, I think, for people to know that we're keeping up on this and we can say, look, we've got a pile of asphalt and I don't think ours should be next. But we don't even know where it's from on one of our roads, our subdivision. And I've been talking to Corey and also about obviously Judd Road, and I know that's going to be a huge expense. But I was just hoping that we could kind of follow the advice that Brooklyn gave us because they seem to have such a good policy and checking roads with this group of residents that were willing to drive around and look rather than having it be just people.
Well, I think I think we had the discussion too, that we're looking at having the committee members be familiar with that and be doing some of that drive around as well. And to have that scheduled, we've been catching up on a good number of things that kind of surprised me as to how many issues we do have to face. A lot of safety issues as well. If I make, a recommendation was made at the last meeting that when we get the minutes to you, that I'd like to have incorporated into the board agenda for July, which is for the road permits, that the road permits for driveways, for utility access, the cable access, and that any driveway anything that requires a permit, which Jennifer helped me out here. We don't really have a permit process in place yet.
Right away, we have an application, so they do have to fill an application, but we don't have any fee for that application.
The recommendation from the Road and Safety Committee is to have $1,000 deposit for every driveway permit or every application that there's a permit there that is refundable upon the successful completion of that driveway or utility digging up the ditches, and that they put the rocks back in the cover them up so they don't bust up the lawnmowers. And put their pedestals in the wrong places.
So that's gonna come in next meeting?
Yes,
July.
I mean, we can't get it in here, but yes,
No,
I would like to
right.
have it in the July agenda.
And I would just, I mean, you know, I don't know how this typically works, but typically this would be part of our fee schedule, which we typically do at the end of the year. So it would be something, I mean, I think you could do it mid-year, but it would be something you would make official January 1 of 2020.
It could be effective then, but it'd be part of a permit process, refundable thing. Backing that up, the town of Albion has such a policy. And Abel's town of Albany has that policy. It says that it's rather effective in getting things cleaned up and returning $1,000.
Yep. So coming in July.
Coming in July.
All right.
Okay, it's the map, and we're looking at having that mapping option that Whistler has, so we have a better graphic presentation of discussion in there, and that would also be including the dangerous intersections.
I have a question, Ellen. How did you rank them by priority of danger? Because when I read that part of the packet, I added about 6 others to the list, and so I'm just curious if. And one time I got in a discussion with Dave Dillman, and we just listed all the intersections we personally found dangerous, and it was a lot of intersections.
Well, there was the 4 intersections that were the most dangerous. That's
What you started with.
That's what we start, the
Yeah.
most dangerous.
And I want to offer 2, depending on what your normal route is through the township. You may be more of an expert on the various degrees of danger because of different time of day, et cetera.
Right.
But anyway, I was just
No,
curious about.
I'm sure that list, they have that list grow is not surprising.
And some of them, I don't know if they're all in the town of Oregon, but it's always really fun to turn off of Frenchtown onto D. Yep, you just, close your eyes
And go.
and and pray that nobody
Would
comes
you
flying.
would you give us a call when you're coming?
Yeah.
There's a number of.
I mean, I do think there are
That is just outside.
It might be on the border, it might be on the border. I don't
It's very
know.
close to the border.
Yeah, but yeah, so anyhow, I just wanted to ask because I like to make comprehensive lists of.
If you have, now that you've seen that you've been identifying this, having your input into that for the future. But what we're gonna do with that list is not quite sure.
Yeah.
Because we also have issues of, we do not have agreements with our neighbors. Blizzard Road is
Oh,
in
yeah.
Fitchburg. Blizzard Road is in Fitchburg.
Excellent point, and you already mentioned that,
Yeah.
one side of the road is in one township and the other is on ours.
Yeah,
So that adds to the complexity of it.
So we do have that issue that we need to be talking with our neighbors and
Mhm.
saying because like Blizzard onto Purcell
Mhm.
is coming down and they've been fishing more cars out of that ditch than we should.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's the accident ratings as well.
Mhm.
So things are,
But it's good that you're getting a list together. It's
Well,
very.
that's, right now, it became a little bit more than what I was expecting.
No, I
It's
just
more
got
than,
it.
you've got potholes to fill.
That's true.
It's much more than that.
There's lots to do. For July, and I maybe you mentioned this or not, but even if it's a draft of a 5-year plan, do you think you'd be at that point for July where we could see something and just say, oh, yes, that looks like it makes sense?
Well,
Or just pull it.
that's when we're meeting the 19th, which is after the town meeting, so.
Oh, okay, so you're not until that, okay,
So let's see what we can get.
okay. All right. Anything else, Arlen? All right. Next item is the torque report, which I guess is me, but there is no torque action to report at this point. Any questions about my non-report?
Oh, yes,
Oh,
is there, at some, I think at some point, we really have to look at, the plan is to keep it going with limited services, as I understand it, through the end of the year, kind of assess. But I'm thinking that we should really start looking at some facts and figures and projections of time needed, hours,
Yeah.
payroll, et cetera. It's nice now we have three people that are happy to work the hours, any hours given, but looking ahead. And I know it's kind of like, how is the site going to be used, and what are we going to do about it going forward?
so I assigned myself to Fred's former position with the torque. And I do think that collecting as much information and data as we can, once we start with curbside in July, will help us a lot, 6 months down the road, a year down the road, whatever, to make decent decisions about.
Right,
What
because
should be
we
happening.
know that people are gonna be piling in with their brush from now until it's too icy and cold to do
Right.
it, and even then people bring brush,
Right.
you know.
So I wanted to check in with the team there.
Yeah, and I
then-
think they're thinking about it, they're looking forward to it, they're, to see what makes sense.
Yeah. I also don't want to overload them, to be, recording
Mm.
things, every other minute.
But I think
we'll have to
they've been
figure that out.
talking about it, they have some ideas.
Good, I would just, yeah,
Get in touch
good,
with them.
good, sounds good. Speaking of Sheldon, in a way, I know we bumped up I did not contact him to say, oh, by the way.
Surprise.
So does he know? I can contact him, but.
I don't really talk to him very much, so I don't know.
You did get it on this last year. I
Okay.
did.
That's really true. I mean, we just,
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'll get in touch.
I think he knows.
I'm sure he does, but,
Yeah,
but,
he might appreciate. Yeah, in any case, you guys need to touch base.
yeah, I'll go out there maybe
Yeah.
Saturday or something.
Yeah.
Sheldon did stop in, and I'm trying to think why he stopped in.
Oh, he was talking about the transition. He wanted to talk to Stephanie about, when we dump the last bins, he doesn't want.
Oh, that's
He
right.
doesn't want the town to have to pay Pelletieri to haul out empty
Mhm,
recycling
mhm,
units
mhm.
if we don't have any,
Right.
he's concerned about that.
Okay,
So,
I think what we've kind of done is we've pulled back on having them come weekly, right?
Yeah,
And so now we're sort of kind of calling them and as an ad
Right,
needed basis,
right.
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Right.
So,
So he wanted to just.
Yeah,
Check that
that's
out.
right.
Touch base with Stephanie.
okay, sounds good. I'll get in touch with him. Next item is the assessor report. And just a mention of the open book meeting here and the board of review.
yep, and then I sent everybody an email with the municipal assessment report. That's that MAR. So this is, Kate will remember this. They have to predict how many new construction, which ties into what our levy increases. We've talked about this over and over again. So the problem then happens is because we haven't completed our board of review and it's later in the year, this is an estimate, which 1 year we had more improvement than what they estimated, and it caused us to have that reduction in the levy. But Kate, being the awesome negotiator she was able to use that as a bargaining tool so that we kind of got a deal on our assessing services for 5 years, which has become a godsend because there's a network that we have of clerks, and assessing services are becoming extremely expensive. It's almost like there's not enough of them, so they can charge whatever they want. So we are very lucky to be in a 5-year contract for the price that we got. So I feel very blessed. But anyways, you might want to take a look at that MAR. It just kind of gives you some information. It's on page 132 to 139. And again, it's an estimate, but let's see if we can go to that first one, page 133. It talks about property physically removed, so $160,000 and 800 is what's coming off of our levy. And it looks like maybe new construction of 4,263,800, so pretty good. So.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then I think Lori has the board of review training, and I mean, not all of you have to watch it as long as one of you became trained, but I think Arlen might be the last one to, or did you already watch it? Board of review?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, not the one this year.
You're in for a treat, Art.
I know, it was such fun last year too.
I have one more session and I can bring it right down with you
Okay.
tomorrow.
Yeah. Can deliver it, hand deliver it to Arlen's house for him.
I could, yeah. Do you want me to just drop it off?
Sure.
Okay. All right.
Do you know what time?
No, I'll have, maybe we could, are you going to the torque on Saturday? Are you going to the torque on Saturday? Oh,
No,
no, okay. Okay, I'll text you.
okay.
Okay, anything else on that, Jennifer? Next one is the building inspection report.
There are 9.
And then next item is item 30, board communication. And I mentioned before that I'm postponing board assignments to July. So the one remaining, one issue that's in the agenda is the start time of the monthly board meetings. And I assume that means 6 or 6:30.
So we've normally started our board meetings at 6:30. Last week, we had senior center. This week, we had the OCA, sorry. So I think that the idea is that an okay start time for everyone? Would you like to just start at 6 going forward?
I would.
That's agreeable.
6 is good. 6.
Yep.
6.
So that Arlen would have to just always remember now, 6.
Yep.
If that's okay with everyone.
6 is good.
Just as long as we know it.
Do we want to make a motion or do you want to just, it's fine. Okay, so I'm gonna
think
put
that's
everything
meeting
from,
procedure.
yeah, everything from, will be 6 o'clock for the board meetings. Okay,
Good. Item number 31, future agenda items. Sure. Vision statement will come along with committee things, roles and responsibilities. I have a document that I'll bring in July. And then ARPA funds, I don't remember what I think it was just like, what are we going to use them as we go along? So. That's it.
you know what I'll do? I will type something up for ARPA funds of what we got, what we've used so far and how much we have left over.
Okay, sounds good.
All that for July.
Yeah, I was re-looking at Robin's Interlogic's description there. I think we need a description from you
Okay,
as if you're looking at functional, so what it is you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
What's wrong?
Yeah.
What you need to get to, and then that designer is going to be.
it might be
And
kindergarten
it's-
language, it might not be like designer language, because I don't know, I don't know.
No,
our
it
language.
needs to be client language.
That's what I'm gonna give you.
You need to be client language, and then board, I think would have a better time proving and say, yeah, they hit it, they didn't.
Sure. Sure.
So then we can have a little bit of a check. So we don't forget what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and it's as much saying, this isn't working. Don't know how to fix it.
And that's part of, I think, that designer coming in is, I don't know, like, I'm not smart enough to know, this is what I want, but I don't know what that looks like.
Okay. That's fine, and
Yeah.
and don't try to solve it. Get what's wrong and what's needed,
Okay,
and then that's gonna be clear, and then they're the one that's supposed to come up with
yeah,
the solution. If you could come up with a solution, we didn't need it.
yeah, that's part of the problem, right?
Okay,
Yeah.
right, so define that
Yeah.
problem and define it well,
Okay,
and then the designers can take it from there.
sounds good.
Oh, wait, a minute, a thing from the road, we still have our Bellbrook Road Bridge
Yes,
that is going to be due for an inspection. And hopefully it's going to drop below the 50%. I think it's going to be inspected later this summer.
But it's, it looks like it's been on early fall inspection schedule, so August, September timeframe.
Okay, so be looking forward to that, because until then, it's a big expense to replace that, and we need the rating to be low.
under 50, right?
Under 50, and we're at 51.2 or something like that right now.
It's close.
I think I just got something, I didn't forward it to you, but there's, as soon as that happens, you can apply for some bridge funding. Let's hope there's some magical program out there.
Yeah, and we're still looking for magic programs for money.
Mhm.
Right. Any other ideas or agenda items for the next meeting or future meetings from anyone?
Wasn't Carl bringing the brats next time?
I would.
I
If it's
think
gonna start at 6 o'clock, you better bring the brats.
one of the ideas, though, I don't know that we talked about, and I guess it's not really on the agenda, was the idea, do we want all these committee reports on every single agenda? And we don't have to talk about that tonight, because I know it's late, but that was something we really, like Anderson Park or Public Works or Senior Center, do you
Right.
need these on every single?
We should talk
agenda?
about it maybe next month, because I think we can scale back a lot.
Well, you just,
know,
there's nothing, or it could be the consent agenda.
Well, that's true, but I'd still like to get written reports from committees. But I say, even the fire districts, I don't think we need monthly reporting on that. I mean, Belleville doesn't even meet until quarterly. So unless there's something happening that's critical that we need to do
In
something.
July, there'll be a joint meeting with our
Well-
council, everybody will be at it.
Right, right. So I'm sure there are things, some of these things that I'm sure don't have to be monthly. I'm sure they don't have to be in-person presentations. I think there's some ways that we can do it. That'll make it faster, smoother. And it'll, especially with the written reports, we'll have something on record of what has happened historically. So I think we should talk about it. Anything else from anyone? If not, then Jennifer, clerk's reports and loan updates.
So Carl kind of took my
Oh,
away, but, so our ordinances are something called codified, so they're basically put in a book and they're put in order. We don't codify them after every single ordinance because it's kind of expensive. So I put in your packet on page 142, the last time we codified was October 6th of 2020. So there's an expense to be doing this. So basically they take all the ordinances that we've passed, and I think we're on ordinance number 98. I think, is that what we're on? So we've had 8
something.
since then.
Yeah, we're working on 97, 98.
Or 90, yeah, okay. So that it would just be talking about when we would want that to be recodified. You know, we kind of wanted to do it every couple of years. It's kind of slipped, but
The
we could do
ballpark,
this.
ballpark costs, what is it?
You know, I think that it would be, no, I think just maybe a couple $1,000,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, it may be 1,000. I don't think, it's basically like kind of computerizing it and printing it.
Right.
We, We don't have it searchable. If you've ever looked at our ordinances online, have you ever gone up to
Yeah.
our website?
Yes.
and Done it? If you go out to the town's website.
Okay.
Our ordinances kind of look like this, so everything and our resolutions are on here as well. But if you go under our final code, you can kind of do it, it's more of like a scroll kind of type of thing. You can pay the service, where like you could click on here and it would take you automatically to it. That's an option. It's just costly. I don't necessarily know that, but I do think we should codify it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do think because then this full plan, you would then have all of them instead of it being a little discombobulated and showing all the ones that have passed since,
Right.
at 90. So just something to think about for budget time.
Okay.
And I will reach out and I will ask how much it's gonna cost us, but just wanted to let everyone know.
We probably should get on a regular schedule for that, or a trigger, like we hit 10 new ordinances and that's time to do it, or something like that. The 2000, it's not bad, or
No.
or whatever it turns out to be.
No,
But I think having it indexed and searchable is, that would be important.
yeah,
And even working with the website vendor to have, I'm not even sure if there's a search that hits those PDFs that haven't been codified yet. I don't think it does.
so
But that should be searchable too.
yeah, so the code publishing, the company that we use to do this codification would host that. And so we would just pay them and then it would be searchable through them. So they would create the whole thing to have that.
After they do whatever we say, but
Yeah.
what about the new ones that we add?
Yeah, then they would do that as well. So,
They would host those too?
yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
All right.
yeah, I think we would just have to pay them. So if
Okay.
we wanted to kind of get into like a contract, so to speak, we could. We
Okay.
just sort of paid them for the job that they've done. And we said, thank you very much and goodbye, but we could kind of be more on a reoccurring kind of
Oh,
type of thing,
okay.
that if that's something that the board would wanna
We should talk.
consider.
We should
Okay.
talk about it.
And then the next thing is, before I get to the loans, is we talked about that SharePoint.
Mhm.
Sounds like we won't have to pay an additional fee, so that's yay. But I would like to set up a date that everyone could meet here. Would there be, I was looking at possibly maybe a Thursday, what days would people be available that I could have Computer Magic here? So you'd bring your laptops, your computers, and we would learn how to access SharePoint documents.
I would vote for not a Tuesday,
Okay,
For what?
for not being Tuesday as
Okay.
as a training day.
Yes.
would a Thursday work?
Thursday, what? Do you have a date in
Morning,
mind?
afternoon, evening?
Would like a Thursday at 1:00 work, like perhaps the last week of June?
Cool. That's the 1 week I'm not available, but
Okay,
anytime early July or,
okay.
You
How
want,
about, would we want to do it the same Thursday as the July board meeting? So we'd have the July board meeting and then that Thursday after. I can't give an exact date because I have to then talk to Computer Magic, so.
yeah,
well, do
You
you
can
want
just throw out some dates for
Yeah.
me and I
to,
will.
or do you want
look
to
at
do
them.
that first? Talk to them first?
He said, when I talked to him, he's like, well, Thursdays in June are good. And so that's, I'm offering any Thursday in June.
Okay.
I
But
can't
then
do
he-
Thursday, the 13th, I can't,
Yeah, okay.
in
So-
July, so the same.
So is June out?
Is June out for everybody?
No.
the 22nd could work.
So anyway, you've got next, the 22nd, what's the next one? Today's the
29th.
So there's the 15th, the 22nd and the 29th. 15th is pretty close.
And
because
I
that's-
think Kate said no.
I can't in July, the one. on the
July.
18th.
Well, how about
Okay,
June?
so-
Let's look at June.
That's this Thursday.
It would be a really quick agenda, but yeah, I asked him if there was like, I just picked Thursday as a date. I think that was. the
Sure, it works. for
Yeah,
me.
I just don't.
We-
I'm gonna
13th,
be
June
gone.
15th is not good for
I
you.
cannot
Okay.
make the 15th.
June 22nd.
It's iffy for me.
Okay.
Depends on what time morning would be there.
Well, and I are heading to Washington. so-
Okay, and then June 29th doesn't work. So then what got difficult is he said, once you get into July, I just have to confirm with him what dates in July. Okay, we could look at a completely different date besides Thursday too. So if you looked,
You mean like in June?
or do we want to, and I mean, this is nothing urgent. We could postpone this to fall if we feel like.
Let's do that.
Okay,
Right now,
Yeah.
June is,
Busting out older.
yes, yes.
So,
so would you like to
Push.
maybe postpone it to like, say, September? And then what I would like to do in September as well is I would like to have just a little pre-budget meeting. So maybe we could combine that into that and we could start looking at some of the
That works.
budget items and stuff like that and talk about budget and talk about. Okay,
sounds good. Anything else, Jennifer?
no, that's it. Oh, and then the,
We have to
obviously,
sign, we have to sign.
you do, yeah.
Oh, it's fine. Okay, anybody want to make number 33 happen? Second,
I'll second. I'm sorry.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and opposed, no, we are out.
At 8:40,